Welcome back to another Making Comics. This time I'm actually doing a cover because I want Godslayer, which is the name of the comic I'm doing, and you will see here me drawing the new style and new idea I had for the comic, but this is a cover. I sketched on my sketchbook some ideas I had, and this one I posted on my Instagram, the sketch version, and many people liked it, so I thought, yes, this maybe will be the first cover. As you can see, I'm drawing now a big robot, and I've changed the main character from a boy to a lady. Maybe she's not a lady, maybe she's something else. Spoiler alert. Well, there is some things I still have to work out, but I really like the kinda big robot mecha kinda era from the 80s. And I haven't seen that much done in modern comics. Today we have robots that are more like Transformers. There are many parts, there are many stuff in the machines, and they're usually driven by people and stuff like that. So what I wanted to create is kind of like a post-apocalyptic world where much has gone to heck, and these big giant robots are kind of like something left behind from our and future era. So this takes place like several thousands of years maybe in the future. So we have gone back to a more simpler time, but we still have these big giant technological creatures, if you may, still roaming the earth from our era of war and crimes and such like that. So the big robots are pretty much kind of like weapons walking around. They're like programmed to just walk around and exterminate certain things. And our heroine, our girl female lead, is actually also something from that era, or perhaps not. There will be a non-spoiler thing here, but I have some ideas around her as well. Many of these things, like the sky and the colors, if you saw my Hyperlight Drifter fan art I did on my Instagram, you saw that I actually love the art style of it. I like the colors because they're not the usual colors. They are more like extreme pinks and cyan and purple and stuff like that, so I wanted to have something like that. Also, the size of things, I wanted to feel kind of like if you have seen the anime Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, it's kind of like that. I want it to be like a world where you can recognize some technology, you can recognize some things. It's still very primitive, but it's kind of like the technology. I can't speak now. The technology has been left behind, so to speak. It's a world where we are still figuring out what happened in our era, kind of. So there will be robots, there will be technological things. That's a hard word for me to say. But there will be kind of like a primitive thinking. So I drawn very much inspiration from Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, but also from like Trigun. Many things are being picked from 80s manga and anime because I really like that kind of style and sense of it. I don't want it to be kind of like modern and gritty and all that. I want it to be very colorful, lots of color, and interesting characters, and a world that feels like you could be in it, but at the same time you don't want to be in it. So I'm drawing the robot here, and I'm doing it as simple as I can. I'm looking at simple, kind of like Mega Man kind of design, simple, not many details and stuff like that. Big hulls over their bodies and heads, Maybe I will show some details if they crack open or something like that, but I want to keep it very simple. The same thing goes for later on when I'm gonna do the coloring. I wanted to keep the colors to a minimum, like the shadows and highlights and stuff like that. You can see here now I'm using the Kablam comic kind of guide to see if I fit within the margin area and where I have to trim. Because the idea is for this to be printed. I want to at least print like 10 perhaps copies of it. Maybe I will, have one copy signed and, you can win it in some contest or something. I don't know. But at least I want to do it like a printed version. So that's also why I'm trying to keep the colors very simple. The only gradient I have in this is the pink sky in the background. Everything else is like one color, and then I'm doing some opacity work on it. But I'm not doing soft shadows and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep it very cel shaded, very simple. Trying to keep it just as clean as I can. Here I'm doing the buildings in the background. I first thought I was gonna do this with lines because the comic itself, this is the cover. The cover is gonna be a little bit more colorful and stuff like that, but I'm still kind of wondering how I should do the actual comic, because I am gonna go with a very clean look. Maybe I'm even gonna go like manga style, black and white, just keeping it just so clean as possible. But if I do color, it's gonna be very simple colors. I'm not gonna like overdo it. I'm just gonna keep it simple. The drawing itself has to speak. So the colors are just gonna be something that helps you out, but not gonna create the scene. The drawing, the line art, that has to be what's creating the scene. So I'm doing some kind of destructive destroyed buildings here. The idea is that this is an area where our past skyscrapers has used to be. But now this big robot is just roaming around there, and our heroine is kind of attacking it, gonna take the robot down. And it's kind of like it's story based, because I want my covers to be kind of like, okay, what's this the story about? And this story is kind of like an introduction to the world. So of course I want to have the big robot there, and she's going after this robot because of a certain thing that happens in the story. And I haven't decided yet if I want to have like a big long red thread through all the issues, because I want to kind of like have it like this is one issue, this is one issue, kind of like, separate stories. There always will be, of course, the protagonist that is the girl, the heroine. But I want to keep it so that you can explore more of the world, explain things, introduce new characters all the time, and not have like a big, soap opera kind of storyline. There will be a storyline about her and what she really is or what she is not. But yeah, I wanna kind of keep it like a Chronicles book. This is the Chronicles of the Godslayer, as she's gonna be called, because some people, like I said, this is a more primitive time, because we have gone back in technology, because the technology is actually killing us. So they believe that these giant creatures and all that is kind of like gods. And some people will be able to figure out how to work these big things. So they would also probably call themselves gods. So she's kind of like the God Slayer, the person that is so powerful that she can actually take these things on. Here you can see I just added the purple here. At first I was trying to make a kind of backlighting, but then I felt like, no, that's too much. So I reversed it and instead used it as a secondary shadow instead of the shadow that I already put down, so we can get kind of like a second layer of shadow. So what I have here is pretty much flats, the base colors, and a shadow, and a secondary shadow, and a light source. But I'm trying not to use them too brightly, partially because in this scene there's a lot of dust and clouds from destruction and all that, so I didn't want it to be too much. But it's gonna be kind of like a post-apocalyptic world, lots of desert, and you can see cities has crumbled, some new villages has arisen. I want to bring in also forest and all that. It's not gonna be like a nuclear holocaust or something like that. We don't see any kind of green or anything like that. It's just that main areas, big chunks of the earth is now pretty much desert and ruins of the old world, so to speak. I did her cape here, kind of like Akira, red and all that. I painted her hair orange for now, but I'm thinking about doing it pink. I'm still not decided on all the colors for our heroine. I have the main things decided. Much of her body is gonna be black, but that is a story element why it's black. But her hair I am not decided on yet. I'm gonna look into more some 80s stuff and see what I can bring out, because I really like the 80s kind of color palette, and I'm a big fan of the 80s design, all that. Many people don't like it because of its kind of childish and, you know, pretty anime style that pretty much everyone keeps saying, but I like it. I like the 80s manga and anime style. So yeah, Godslayer, pretty much the cover here, the first. I'm thinking about eventually doing a cover for every issue, but we will see how I will do that. And you can see here, I thought that the text only didn't bring it out, so I did a shadow and filling it out a little bit so it becomes more, you know, visible, the Godslayer logo. The Godslayer logo I did actually in Photoshop, because I had to use a specific font for it. And the Japanese underline there is actually Godslayer, but I don't know how accurate that is because I used Google Translator. So if it's wrong, please let me know, you who speak Japanese. And that's pretty much it. As you can see here, I did some color variations and trying some stuff out. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and comment. I'll see you next time.